Hello, welcome to Real United Talk tonight. What's he laughing at already? He's died. MadMarcus Mondays tonight. Hope everyone is good and well. Joined tonight by George Kyle. How you doing, mate? Long
All
time.
good, Marcus. Yeah.
Yeah, been a couple of weeks on it. Diedrich, regular as always. Can't seem to get rid of you. Always on. How you doing, mate? All right.
I'm in a better mood now that fucking Saeed from United standard blocked me.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll discuss that as well. Not just him, but that whole thing in general, because I think that's ridiculous. So latest news then, the biggest news for United so far in this transfer window, Van der Beek. Seemingly it's all done. United put in a bid. It was accepted straight away by Ajax. Mark Overmars has spoken about it. Van der Sar's spoken about it. Just have a look. He's had 22 appearances in the league, 8 goals, 5 assists, 5 appearances Champions League, 2 goals, 1 assist. To 2 appearances in the Europa League with 1 assist. Quite a young age as well. Midfielder, centre, 23 years old. Kylie, you probably know a lot about him. So enlighten me. Go for it.
Not necessarily a lot about him. I mean, like most people, I think we don't necessarily keep a close eye on the Dutch league because it doesn't tend to sort of feature on my radar anyway. Have seen him obviously in the Champions League when Ajax went very far, obviously last season, and he's obviously got. He's very adept at working within a system. So definitely within the Ajax system, he definitely looked the part in that well-oiled, well-drilled passing machine. It's whether those sort of tactics are going to be ones that Ollie will employ and how well he'll fit into Ollie's system. Because I don't necessarily think that we play the same sort of system as Ajax, although it is going to be good to see how he sort of fits in. And ultimately, it's definitely a signing that we've been crying out for, some new blood to freshen things up. We've always needed midfield reinforcements, particularly. We've seen when Pogba, Bruno and Matic have come off respectively over the past few weeks, we've seen that the reinforcements on the bench haven't been able to replace them adequately enough. And obviously Donny van der Beek is hopefully going to be a stronger reinforcement on the bench, or potentially force his way into first team contention as well. I have seen sort of bits and pieces of him, and one of his sort of strengths or attributes is his off the ball movement, which is it's going to be interesting again to see how that develops and interacts with Pogba, Bruno, and Matic trying to find him. And as I said, it's going to be very interesting. And ultimately, as we all know, United are particularly blighted with injuries every season. So we all know that definitely most probably Pogba, because Pogba always seems to get an injury over the course of a season. He's going to be out, and then we're going to have Van der Beek in there instead of possibly Fred or McTominay. So very important signing. It was a good deal as well in terms of price. I think from what I've seen, it's somewhere in the region of about 35 million to 40 million, I think, sterling. Obviously with maybe some add-ons in there as well, including the old catch-all Ballon d'Or one as well within the add-ons. And let's hope that he's going to settle straight in and be a brilliant player for us.
Brilliant. Okay. Right. Deidre, before I come to you then, welcome to everyone who's in the comments. The 3 or 4 marks that are in there, and Daniel and Ryan and whoever else is watching. Can't really see because they've not commented yet. But this one, Diedrich, Daniel wants to know, how good is he really? And also, Ryan says, and I totally agree with this, mate, needs some depth. So yeah, fingers crossed it's a good signing.
Yeah.
I think that's I think we've got him at a bargain price, mate. Looking at the stats, knowing what I've watched of him a couple of times in the Champions League, I think his value could quite easily be 60, 70 million upwards. So I think if United have nabbed him for 39 million, 5 million in add-ons as well, providing he turns out to be a decent signing, mate, it could be possibly the bargain of the summer. But for you, Diedrich, you've watched him a few times. You know a bit about him. What do you think?
Well, when it comes to Donny van der Beek, he's a very unusual player in the sense, whereas I still don't know what I see him as. I don't know whether I see him as a number 10 or whether I see him as a midfielder, straight out midfielder. So I suppose that's another string to his bow in a sense. He can play both positions and play them both rather well. I do watch the Dutch league on occasion, not as much as the Premier League. Like I said the other night, it's mainly when Ajax play against Bayern, well, Feyenoord and PSV. I kind of watch them games. Most of my info I get from one of my friends who's Dutch, who's an Ajax fan. Is called Zeg. And I said, like, tell me a Man United player you reckon you could compare Donny van der Beek to. And the best example I suppose he gave me was, he said, imagine a more technically gifted Ander Herrera, if that makes any sense. He said he's not exactly a CDM, but he's not exactly a number 10, but it can do the jobs, but just not do them brilliantly, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I mean, if it provides strength and depth, you've got to think not every single player you ever buy is going to walk straight into that first 11. You want players that are sometimes going to sit on the periphery. I don't think Donny van der Beek is going to be sat on the periphery, but I don't automatically think he's going to walk in straight away and grab Pogba or Fernandez's jersey either. So I'm all for it. The more competition in the squad means, the more people are going to challenge it, and the more people are going to be less prone to mistakes, really. You only got to look at the likes of De Gea. You could pretty much sit there for the last 2 seasons in a fucking deck chair with no competition. So competition's good, competition's healthy.
Okay. Daniel says, this brings into what you said, Carly, just now. You always worries about someone coming from the Dutch league, even with solid Champions League experience.
I have not been invited, Mr. Roy, say otherwise. Well,
yeah. But, I mean, I think if he comes into this first team and you've got that midfield three of Pogba, Bruno and Van der Beek, however you fucking say it, I think the way Pogba has been employed this season in a positional sense, playing that sort of defensive come centre midfield role, not playing forward an awful lot, I think between the two of them, Donny and Pogba, I think that would fit quite well. Because if you've got the two of them doing the one job, I think that is more than enough cover then for that back four. And then you leave Bruno playing at the top of that triangle in that midfield three. Kylie, I'll take it. No, not for you.
Not for me.
No, go on.
I mean, ultimately, although the statistics show that we have been, over the course of last season, comparatively to the season prior to that, it did show that we were more defensively solid. We didn't concede as many goals. We did have many clean sheets as well. But obviously, when you watch United week in, week out, you notice that there's a certain susceptibility and frailness about the defence as well. That I don't necessarily think that when you've got when you don't have that sort of Matic player who's more of a defensive sort of shield for the defence, I don't necessarily think that our defence is capable enough to work with that system. Again, obviously, I'm prepared to be proved wrong. But we have seen as well that obviously we are hoping, of course, that we do bring in some sort of defensive reinforcements as well, because we have been shown up in quite a few games as well in terms of not being able to play out from the back, and also that when we are pressed high up the field, particularly, which and that's one of the things that, let's say that even if you're not necessarily a good team or a top team, you might be in the sort of mid-table or even like the lower down you are. if you realise, if you see a weakness in a team, you're going to obviously look to exploit it. And I think that's what United need to be very careful of, because we've now seen with, obviously, when Southampton came and also with Chelsea as well, just to name two, that if you are brave and you do press high enough up the field, then you do obviously cause us problems, because we're not able to play out from the back, well enough. And I think that's potentially going to be something that's going to be another downfall again with the season that's coming up. So I still think we need defensive. If we can get obviously a centre back in who is much more composed on the ball and more sort of ball playing, and then we can play out from the back a bit better, then that's when that's when I feel in a way that you can remove the defensive screen and Matic and maybe play someone who's more offensive. But until we see that, I don't feel like we're strong enough, or solid enough at the back.
Right. Well, Daniel Luciano, this is you, Diedrich. He says, I don't think we can compare Van Nistelrooy or Suarez. Midfield is trickier. And DMG asked me if I still stream on Twitch. Yes, I do, mate. Not very often, but I do. It's having a time. So leading into what Kylie said there, then, Diedrich, the defensive shield, we need a centre back.
I completely disagree.
With what?
Well, it mentioned obviously the likes of. I don't think Matic needs to play there. I think Matic is good to play there in the big important games, but you got to think about the guy's age, and I think if you're playing the likes of Southampton and things like that, obviously it wasn't really a good example of what happened at Old Trafford, but that what happened after lockdown isn't really a good example of football anyway. There were some freak results happened straight away. Normally, I'd say Lindelof and Maguire are arguably two of the best ball-playing centre-backs in the Premier League. It's just Lindelof's aerial ability and his strength that lets him down, and then you've got to look at the likes of Maguire, who's odd. Very odd sometimes, I think, Maguire. I do think we need a centre-back, though. I think we need a replacement for Lindelof. As much as I have just said he is a good ball-playing centre-back, I don't think he offers a lot in the air. I think he gets bullied way too easily. It's been that's the one thing that he hasn't improved on since he came here. That and his physicality. Let's not all forget the game against Huddersfield and what happened against Seville as well. Is a weird one, but yeah, I think. I mean, if we were going to go off to centre backs, I wouldn't mind Upamecano or Paul Torres, because apparently he's really quick as well.
Right. Well, the Upamecano one is the one we've been linked with, but Leipzig retweeted about his contract extension a couple of hours ago. Mm-hmm. So it makes me believe that they have no interest in selling him whatsoever. But just in case they do, he's 21 years old. He's had 28 appearances this season with 27 starts. He's been subbed twice. He's had 15 shots with 0 goals, 1 assist, 6 yellow cards, 1 red card, culminating in 2 yellows, and 1 straight red card. And he's committed 26 fouls. His aerial duels, he's had 97. And he's won 68 of them. His ground duels, 377, and he's got 61.3%. Successful passes from open play. So attempted passes, 1,861, and he's been successful in 90.9%. Right now, for me, that's fucking, mate. That's some good talking. That is.
The only thing with stats like that is a lot of times centre backs aren't necessarily going to go forward; they're going to pass it to either side of each other. So you don't know whether if that was a stat say passes forward completed, then that would be fucking very impressive. But like I said, it could just literally be.
Well, this is why Marawan was so good, mate, because it was just 5-10 yard passes.
Fucking hell.
Kylie, right? So Upamecano, then, you know about him. What do you think? Is he the centre back answer that you mentioned earlier, or is there someone else you prefer?
I think we do definitely need a centre back, even if we feel like Lindelof and Maguire are, capable of, forming a good and solid partnership. We have seen that definitely that Maguire in particular, obviously there was that statistic that he played the most out of any player in the world. I think in that Europa League semi-final, which shows that, and there was definitely a depreciation and deterioration in his abilities, I think, as the season wore on, because you are going to have that fatigue. And obviously, I've mentioned previously, and obviously I've also found out I was correct about the fact that Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka had never actually featured in the Champions League, so to speak, because obviously Maguire was bought after the season after Leicester were in the Champions League, so they're not used to playing in that many games in a season, because obviously when you're playing for Crystal Palace and Leicester respectively, you don't get that many games, so you're always going to have that element of fatigue. And obviously with Ollie, he really doesn't like to rotate. We saw obviously after the lockdown that there was a statistic that he obviously was featuring the same team 3 or 4 times, whatever it was, in a row, which was the first time in 15, 20 years, whatever it was. And I think, and I also feel like that's a thing that Ollie, that's not necessarily a one-off that was just after the lockdown because he needed the wins. It's also something that he did when he first came into the club as well. We saw with that team that obviously went on that massive winning streak. We saw that he tended to play exactly the same 11 again, week in, week out, and then obviously it all sort of derailed a bit when Herrera got injured, a few other people got injured as well. So I think that we do need cover reinforcements, definitely in defence. You're always looking to improve upon that as well. We've seen that he particularly doesn't trust Jones either after what happened against Sheffield United at the turn of the year when he made the horrendous error for the first goal that Sheffield United scored. And he doesn't really necessarily seem to trust him. So we do definitely need a centre-back. And it's always my opinion that when you've obviously finished third like we did and we were miles off the pace, that you do need to improve the first team. And there's always room for him. There's always, you can always improve. And Upamecano, I think, would be an improvement as well from what I've seen of him. He's very quick, which I think is something that we do definitely need. With obviously both Maguire and Lindelof are not the quickest. And obviously incredibly strong as well, and again very proficient. Again, obviously with RB Leipzig's team in a way in terms of their tactics as well. He is integral for that as well in terms of his positional sense and obviously his ability to pass out from the back. I would say as well though that I think obviously I watch Bayern Munich a lot over since lockdown as well. Obviously, because Bundesliga was the league that came back for quite some time, and obviously in the Champions League, obviously they eventually won it. And the difference that Manuel Neuer makes, having a goalkeeper that is that good with their feet playing out from the back, is obviously light and day compared to us again. So I think there is going to be obviously I haven't seen that much of Dean Henderson as well, apart from when we've played them. I saw maybe 2 or 3 matches I think. Of Sheffield United, obviously since the lockdown when he was playing as well, and I don't necessarily think that he's going to be. Hopefully, he's going to be slightly better, I thought, than David De Gea at playing out from the back, because I think we've seen it too often, and obviously the Chelsea game really does stick out in the mind because it was so bad when. Obviously, De Gea will do a sort of nervous pass out to Maguire or nervous pass out to Lindelof, obviously like 3 or 4 yards sideways. And then they'll try and play it out, obviously left, right, obviously using the fullbacks and stuff like that. But it just never works and just couldn't get out. And it ends up just being horsed into, obviously, for a throw-in, or De Gea will just eventually launch it long anyway, which is what he should have just done from the goal kick. So we do definitely need to improve how we play out from the back. Because as I said, it was incredibly noticeable. And like I said, when you watch Bayern Munich with Neuer, the difference is just night and day.
So Diedrich then, Upamecano, is he the answer? I mean, if you're going by what Cardi says here, need a strong centre back.
Yeah. One of the things me and George actually agree on here. Yeah. I definitely think he is. I think the guy's quality. I mean, the whole thing that's going on at the moment is RB Leipzig are saying, like, they did a tweet earlier on, like we were discussing, that says, in case you missed this, because he obviously signed a contract. But what they aren't telling you is, when he signed this contract, it also brought his release clause down. So he used to have a higher release clause. Since he's then signed this contract, it's brought his release clause down. So his release clause is now 42 million. But the thing is about that is that release clause doesn't kick in until the end of the coming season. So yeah. I think the idea has been the kind of like a Ronaldo going to Real Madrid kind of idea. It was like, right, you play with us for one more season, sign a contract, make the media go away, and we'll let you go in a season's time. Because it happens quite a lot. It happens more than what we care to think. Coutinho it happened with. Signed a new contract after saying he wasn't going to Barcelona. The season after, goes to Barcelona. But Griezmann does it again with Barcelona. It happens more than you think. So I think
Ajax do that as well, don't they? Because they don't beat De Jong and.
Yeah, it's basically just sign this contract, shut the media up, stop them asking us questions, and then in a year's time you can go. So it looks like we've saved face. We've said that we're going to keep you, which we have done, but in reality we know you're off. Yeah. So I think he definitely would come if we was to. But the thing is, like I said, the difficulty about this deal is the release clause doesn't kick in well next season. So it's like they might be thinking, well, if Man United offer us 50 million now, is 50 million better now than 42 million in a year's time? Or do you think, well, Upamecano is more valuable for us this season, and in between this time we can look for a centre back to replace him with? So I suppose there's many different permutations, and like I said to you in the thing, apparently in the pre-show, apparently Upamecano we had on trial. We just decided not to sign him up because we thought Tuanzebe was actually rated higher than him. He actually played a few trial games as well.
Okay.
The worst example of that was apparently in 2011. Obviously, when we signed Phil Jones, the other option we could have had was Raphael Varane. So
really,
so that's
Oh yeah. Blackburn Rovers also had it. They could have had Zidane, and instead they went for Tim Sherwood.
Fucking hell. Jesus Christ. Right, the Dean Henderson thing then. 6-year contract. He signed up. I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer, mate. He's obviously challenging for number one spot. I would expect him to have that number one spot sewn up by next season, to be honest. De Gea will be, 30, 31. By then, he'll either be out the door or he has to play second fiddle. So with Romero, where does that leave Romero then? Because I read that United are trying to offer Romero as part of the deal for Grealish, because Villa are off new keeper than Diedrich. So, I mean, do you reckon that helps United?
I think the Grealish deal is dead.
You think so?
Yeah, almost definitely. I wouldn't mind being proved wrong, so I actually quite like Grealish, but I can't say. I think that the Van der Beek deal I think it was either him or him, and I think we've gone for the cheaper option, better option. I'm not going to say thingy, but Romero, I think Romero must know, because he's, to be fair, he's had although he hasn't played much football, he's had a decent little career, hasn't he? After 2 shot JFK, that's a no-brainer. Wow. Anyway, remember, yeah, he has to. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna be standing outside Old Trafford with me fucking t-shirt crying my eyes out with Romero leaves. Best of luck to him. I wish him all the luck in the world, but you know what I mean? It's time to maybe for you to go and fucking progress your career elsewhere rather than sitting on a bench and being happy about it. He's made a killing. Honestly, God, I could have done his job for the last 6 years. All he's done is sat on the bench and played against Exeter. But I think definitely it's a win-win situation as well if he goes out the door, because now you've got Henderson and De Gea. I mean, other fans will see it as a bad thing. I've seen a certain somebody a couple of days ago when it first broke saying, "Why have we done this? This is not fair to De Gea and all this lot." But then then screams when we got linked with Jimenez for Martial. Weird guy. But yeah, I think it puts pressure on both the keepers. It can be a case of one mistake, David, and he's in, and vice versa.
Carly don't agree with that then.
No, all I was going to say was I think it is. I can't remember what it was. I said quite a few weeks ago. It's about something else, but I said it was about the good of the club. We've got to sort of separate our personal loyalties, because everyone's got their favourite players, and everyone wants to see them those personal preference players playing. But ultimately, it has to be for the good of the club, and I think that's really the case with David De Gea and Henderson as well. I think, ultimately, it's going to be one of two things that's going to happen. Firstly, David De Gea is obviously going to get the rocket up himself that he obviously needed, and is going to turn it around. That's obviously the first thing that could happen. And he's obviously going to work on himself, and he's actually going to concentrate as well, because I think a lot of the time we've seen, obviously, as well, we know how good David De Gea is. We've seen it for so many years, and it just feels like potentially, there's a few people have mentioned that because we're obviously facing less shots, it means he's less busy, and it's a different type of keeping, so it's a different type of concentration. Yeah. But like I said, there's nothing that sort of concentrates your mind more when you're potentially going to lose your place, and he's going to have some real stern and fierce competition from Henderson. So as I said, that'll be option or scenario number one that will happen. Or scenario number two is going to be that David De Gea continues to have these, goalkeeping errors leading to goals.
Hang on a minute, Diedrich, got feedback.
Goalkeeping errors leading to goals. And Dean Henderson will step in. And I think we've seen again, obviously, arguably one of the best keepers, obviously the previous season with Sheffield United, and he's definitely someone who can step in and hopefully take the number one spot. So like I said, it's a win-win for us, really. One of those two situations are going to happen. And as I said, and hopefully, whichever way it works out, hopefully United is successful, because that's the main thing. Regardless of whether we feel like David De Gea has earned our loyalty for the many years of great service, at the end of the day, it's a football club. We're obviously here to win trophies and matches. And if David De Gea, if his abilities have waned, he needs to be moved on to the bench, and Dean Henderson needs to play, because winning matches is of paramount importance. So,
yeah. Diedrich, you're gonna talk, mate, and you're sitting in fucking silence. Well, I don't. What's going on with your audio?
Right, is it repeating again?
Yeah.
1 minute, I'll call out. I'll come back in.
Oh. Chris says let them fight it out from number one. I've got to agree with Chris, mate. I think the more pressure on De Gea, the better for me. I think that guy's been too comfortable for too many years. Never had any proper competition for his place. Let's remove that one. Get that one in.
Is that any better?
That's better, mate. Much better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, Dean Henderson, for me, I think I wouldn't say out of loyalty, but I think out of respect, I think De Gea gets this season for me. If he don't perform, I want to see Henderson in there, to be honest. I want to see this squad going forward. I don't believe in love stories as such, or fairy tales. He's been a great servant to the club, but ultimately I think his time is up. I think the last season he's been fucking horrendous, and he wasn't that much good the season before. And I think you just need some fresh blood in there. You just need someone new. You need someone who's doesn't let mistakes get him down. He's had that contract situation hanging over his head about the Madrid thing and the fax machine and his new contract and everything else. He's got too many problems, mate, for me. Too many things in his mind.
Yeah, the hardest thing though for De Gea is that because we all know that he's a phenomenal shot stopper, but I think the game over the last few years has really sort of moved on and almost passed him by in terms of just being a ball playing goalkeeper, because when you sort of really analyze in great detail and depth, David De Gea's distribution is absolutely terrible. It's constant. It's so bad. It's just, yeah. What will often happen is that he'll have these just random, as I said, we'll obviously be passing it around the back, because obviously that's now the sort of new tactics that Ollie wants to have, is just obviously playing out from the back. But then when it comes back to him, he won't try and find a full back or try and find someone who's spare. He'll just aimlessly lump it up the field, and we just lose the ball anyway. And it's often as well, there'll be an easy pass on when the ball comes back to him for whatever reason, and he won't make it. He won't make the correct decision. So, I'm quite skeptical as to whether De Gea will be, whether my first scenario, obviously, if De Gea, getting better and being good enough to be our number one will come true, because, like I said, the game has moved on. And unless De Gea can really work on his distribution and making sure that he finds people, you can't have someone like that in the modern game either, because obviously, what is it, possession's 9/10 of the law, or whatever the expression is. And ultimately, more often than not, conceding possession the way that he does is only going to bring trouble. So, yeah, as I said, De Gea will probably be gone at the end of this next season, or at least not number one. Henderson will have replaced him.
Well, Deidre, you reckon the Grealish deal's dead? Yeah. So therefore, where do you stand on, our supposedly number one target of the summer, which is Sancho?
Oh, according to some people, it's done. It got done a couple of weeks ago, didn't it? 7.
Apparently so, mate. Apparently so. Personal terms were agreed, and it was.
No, I was saying last night with Mutway, I think it was Ross. I don't think the two deals are even in the same stratosphere. I don't think the two deals are connected. One's a midfielder, one's a right winger. One was not the alternative for the other. I'd say if you were looking at if we'd signed the likes of Coleman or who that lad you wanted us to sign, Douglas Costa. If we'd signed one of them two, then I'd have said that looks a bit like the Sancho deal's dead. But no, I don't. I think the Sancho deal, I think it's just a case of when.
I'll tell you when, mate, next year.
I hope anyway.
Next year, right? That's when it'll be done, next year. All right, Kylie. You told me the 7th, and then you told me the next week, and I'm waiting for Sancho as long as I'm waiting for my Costa that you owe me. Right? So, what's happening? Come on, what's the latest?
Obviously, we've seen now with Donny van de Beek that United can get a deal done very quickly. We have been linked with him previously over previous weeks, but it was quite a quick transition from obviously being strongly interested, linked with him only maybe like 24 hours or so ago, and then obviously almost immediately signing him. So we're hoping that sort of speed and urgency is going to translate now into United's transfer business now. I think as well, obviously, when you come to the UK again, you have to, have that 14-day quarantine period as well. So we are now getting almost into the situation where I think we start on the 19th, don't we? I think the 19th is our first game. So we're almost getting into the situation where that 14-day window, we need to sign players within the next week, or else they're going to obviously miss our first game of the season because of that, like I said, that 14-day quarantine they've got to have. So I'm hoping that Sancho is going to be tied up very, very quickly. But obviously, we also need other players as well. And ultimately, if we're thinking that obviously Van der Beek about 40 million, and then Sancho, well, somewhere in the region of 70 to 90 in terms of the initial payment, then we're rapidly looking at exhausting all of our funds for this summer, which is quite a scary thought, really, because I think there was a comment that said that I don't believe that we've ever spent more than 150 million, I think, in terms of like outlay in one summer. And obviously we're almost at that level already. And we still, for me, obviously we've been linked to a centre-back, which would be Upamecano or Pau Torres. But then again, you're sort of looking at whether we can afford them as well. And also, like I said, the time's running out. So Yeah, like I said, hopefully we're going to get Sancho done. We do know that he's definitely United's #1 target because obviously all the press has been there and it's been speculation now for the last half a year.
Yeah, but you said it there, mate. Speculation.
Well, no, there's no smoke without fire, Marcus.
Mate, listen, right? I'm gonna add something else here. Why I think it's all crap, right? As soon as Ajax got in talks with United about Van der Beek, right? He didn't play in their last game, right? He got called up for international duty. He got played, right? United have been after this kid, Sancho, for months. And guess what? He's still playing for Dortmund, right? For me, that's a huge factor. If you're set on coming to a club, you don't want him playing for said club while you're trying to negotiate a deal in case he breaks a leg.
Right? No, I've got to debunk you because Maguire played every single pre-season match he could for Leicester. Wan-Bissaka didn't. Bruno Fernandes was played. I think it was 2 days before we signed him. I think that other lot, United stand there, did a fucking Bruno Fernandes.
But how many times? Yeah, but how many times was it? Bruno Fernandes, farewell. Right? Do you remember that? How many times was it? Bruno Fernandes. This is his last game. He's saying goodbye. Exactly. He's crying. He's coming. Right. So, and it just makes me think, in this day and age, right, with this virus going about, if you want a player, that player stops playing for that club. If a deal is imminent or in any regards being done, right?
No, because I think with the whole Ajax situation, I think Ajax honestly expected him to be a Real Madrid player by now. And I think if not for the COVID-19 situation, it would have been. And I think they've almost banked on getting that money. So that when they've got all of a sudden turned around and went, no, we can't sign you, mate. And then Barcelona have said, yeah, we aren't either. They've been like, Van der Sar's been like, oh shit, who do I know?
I think
I know a few people at the United. Make a few phone calls.
I think the key thing as well was they actually paid the price, didn't they? Because Van der Beek has always been that price, and it's exactly the same as Sancho. Just pay. We know what price it is. They've said it's 120 million euros, which is roughly 108 million sterling. Just pay the price.
40 million. What was it? 40 million euros. It works out about 35 million pounds outright.
Yeah.
Mark says, won't all the players that go out on international duty this week need to quarantine on their return? I don't think they do they?
I don't know. They're not coming at home. I don't know because they'll be in a fucking bubble, won't they? It's all the bollocks.
Ryan says, don't know what to think about Sancho, to be honest. I think it could happen, or knows. Mate, I don't think it'll happen. I really don't. Especially now we got this guy and they're linked to that Upamecano. I think that's too much money out of the transfer budget, to be honest. Chris says here, we should be selling a load of players to help create funds. What's going on? Why aren't we selling players?
We're Man United. We shouldn't be. I know. Obviously, sometimes you got to balance books out and stuff like that. But I find it a bit embarrassing when we go, oh, we've got to sell to buy. Fucking, have you seen how much money Man United makes? And we're saying to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, sorry, mate, you've got to clear up 50 million before we give you any money.
Well, Chris also said it's the first instalment that is the hold up, apparently. Ryan says nobody wants our Deadwood. They're getting paid good money to be here, and there's no chance they'll get it anywhere else, which is spot on.
100%.
I mean, wouldn't that sort of create like a bit of fucking player power, wouldn't it? I mean, Solskjaer wants Matter to go, or Jones, or Lingard.
You've only got to look at the likes of Gareth Bale, haven't you, in Real Madrid?
Yeah.
He's on ridiculous money, but he's got something like 2 years left of his contract. So unless they agree a mutual termination where they say we'll pay off the rest of the contract, he's fully within his rights to just say, right, well, I'm not going anywhere. It's not like the olden days when, I think it was Paul Ince, did he not once say that he got a phone call out playing golf saying, we've sold you to Inter Milan, you're going tomorrow. He didn't even agree to a contract or anything. That wouldn't happen now because you then get the player going, well, I don't want to go there, I'll stay here.
I like the golf course here, mate. I don't like it out in China.
Ah,
I've said
fuck
it.
off. Get out, Pereira.
Do you know what I read today as well? Joe Pereira's gone out on loan again. Huddersfield. I totally forgot we had him. What's the point of sending him out on loan, man? Just fucking sell him. You know, you ain't going to be using him anytime soon. You ain't going to be using Lee Grant, and Romero looks like he's on his way as well. So what? I don't see sense in that deal, to be honest. Everyone wanted Rojo last year, and Woodward rejected them. What a plonker Woodward is, says Chris, meaning Everton wanted him. Chris agrees, but our owners are the Glazers. Well, let's finish up here because I mean, what's next? What is next? We got the first signing in the door. I know we got 2 lads in quarantine that were just waiting to come out of quarantine. 2 young lads for the youth club. Well, yeah. Kylie, what's next on the business list for Woodward? Where does he go now? Because I don't see. I really don't see Sancho happening, mate. I'll say it till the cows come home. I don't see it at all. I said to you, mate, didn't I? Before this window opened, I said to you, it'll be 2 or 3 signings that'll be under the radar. They won't pay the money. And here's the first one. Linked with him on the Friday or Saturday, accepted the bid on the Sunday, doing his medical out with the international team today or tomorrow.
Took her for a drink on Monday.
What's next, Carly? I mean, the Upper Carmo thing, I don't think that'll happen. I think we'll get a centre back, but I don't think it'll be him. And I think they'll go after a striker.
Yeah, I've heard rumours that they're after Josh King again.
Again? I read Callum Wilson today, mate. Because they can't get hold of that Brooks.
But both is bad as each other.
King.
They're all, yeah. I think Sancho is the priority now. I still do feel like he's coming. I think United have wasted too much time and energy on this deal not to try and back out now. And I think it's just a case of them finally paying up, which they will do. But again, we could be waiting until the 5th of October or whenever it is the window shuts for it to actually finalise that deal. So we're going to be able to get at least another player in as well as Sancho, particularly a centre back, because we do need one. Even if you feel like Maguire and Lindelof are good enough, they can't play that many games over and over. We don't have anybody to deputise for them because Ollie clearly doesn't, like most of the fan base, clearly doesn't trust Phil Jones. So, but in terms of sort of getting rid of the dead wood, if it was me, I still don't understand why we retain so much of it. I know Ollie has done a great job of getting rid of a lot of the poorer players, but it's a lot of them have been stealing a living for too long, and we just need to get rid of them. Just sell them. Any old price will do. Just get rid of them.
Diedrich?
What's my YouTube channel called?
Well, yeah, that's what Mark says. Yeah.
Tell you later.
Right. Mark says it's not costing us a penny to keep Joel Pereira. So raising his profile on loan can only raise his value. Yeah, well, his wages, man. What's the point? Get rid of him. If you're after, Hart's got a good one, mate. If you're after a striker, Cavani.
Oh, fuck no. Oh, God, no.
No, but, mate,
guys are older than father time.
If he's penny pinching, mate, and you need someone there as cover, I can think of worse options.
No, I can't think of many worse options. You don't want to be coming to the Premier League at whatever age he is. This isn't, unless you're quite a young striker, this is the league where people like him come to die.
Well, Zlatan's proved it can be done.
Zlatan and Cavani.
I know he's a freak of an animal, but he's proved that, what is it he said, age is just a number?
Yeah, but let's be honest, that Zlatan we had for United, fair enough, he did quite well, but he wasn't exactly ripping it to shreds, was it? It was, we almost had to fucking, did you see how bad we played for that period? Fair enough, we might have done okay-ish, but look at how much of a high line teams come and play with them.
Yeah, they're not worried about the pacing beyond, are they?
Oh, fuck. There's never for that guy. I mean, the guy knows where the back of the net is, but I don't. That's the thing at the minute. Everyone's going to be after a cheap striker as well, aren't they? With everything that's gone on. So, yeah.
Well, Mark says we're not paying Joel Pereira's wages. The club that loans him covers that. We may even
Not
make
always. Not
I,
always. If it's a lower league club and stuff like that, and you're loading him out a young lad who's on 20 grand a week, then a lot of the time the club will subsidise the wages because obviously you're paying that one lad 20 grand a week, whereas you're loaning out to a League One club where the fucking full squad might only be on the 20 grand as a collective.
Chris says Cavani is no Zlatan. He's nothing like Zlatan, but I was just using it as an example. What was Zlatan? 34, 35? And he's just, he's got another contract at fucking Milan again, isn't he? For another year.
Where's Cavani gone? Has he not already agreed to contract?
No, I don't think so. I think he's still a free agent.
MLS.
Well, who can he go to over there, though? Who's willing to pay for that? Beckham's team, right? Yeah, Beckham's team, right? Yeah, I think as it stands, I'm intrigued now to see who the second signing, if there's a second signing, who it's going to be. It's quite interesting actually, because you two don't think the Sancho deal's dead. I do. I think it's dead. I don't think the Grealish deal is dead, but you do.
Yeah, I agree with Dedrick about that. I think Grealish, just simply because of obviously Van de Beek is quite a similar sort of player in terms of or at least filling in different positions in that same sort of area. And obviously Aston Villa, as we know, have wanted far too much money for Grealish, and they still continue to do so. Obviously, since he kept them up, and that's how they thank him, is whacking a 60, 70 million price tag on him. So, like I said, I obviously Van de Beek, I think, has sort of stopped the Grealish deal. I wouldn't say it's necessarily completely dead, because you never know with United whether they would go for it, and or whether they'd use someone like Romero as a bargaining chip in order to get him for a lower price. But I think from what I can understand, I think that the three players, or at least three positions that they're looking for within the remainder of the transfer window, is centre back, which obviously we all know we need, right winger, which is of course Jadon Sancho, and a striker. When of course you said you've heard Callum Wilson. Obviously I've heard Josh King.
Yeah.
It'll be someone like that as a backup striker. And again, I'm not necessarily sure I agree with signing someone like that either, because I thought that was the reason we bought Odi Nagalo, who we still got until January. So yeah.
But then come January, mate, what do they do? This is what I think they need to sort out. I think striking position, mate, because January ain't far away. It ain't far away. I mean, you're only looking at 4.5, 5 weeks left of this window, right? Time then, Christmas will be round, and then United Woodward will be fucking shitting themselves, mate. He'll be thinking, "Oh shit, I forgot Igalo's going next week." And it's bad.
That's probably the thing one of the things that most annoys me about Manchester United is I wish I could have a conversation with Ed Woodward. Just it would just be sort of like one or two questions of just saying, first of all, why is it, Ed, that we're always so poor at negotiating deals in a quick time? And what I mean by that, Ed, is that when the transfer window happens, it happens the same time every single year, and yet you take weeks and weeks and weeks, and you drag out deals, and you always pay exactly the amount that the club has always said that they wanted. So why do you constantly delay these deals? Because, like I said, it's not as if what's he saving, like 1 or 2 million at most, but we tend to pay exactly what a club wants. We did it with Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Bruno. We'll do it exactly the same with Sancho, no doubt, as well. So, like I said, that'd be the first question I'd ask Woodward, is why they always take so long over deals, because it's just a disgrace. And like you said, we've only got 4 or 5 weeks left now of this window. And then again, as you also said, he'll be sort of surprised when Christmas and obviously January window's upon us, even though it happens.
Mate, everyone will be out rushing. It'll be like going into fucking Harrods in London, mate. queuing up outside. Everyone will be outside rushing, and he'll be sat there having his Christmas turkey. He'll get the email. Oh, don't forget to send Igalo back next week, and he'll be like, "Oh shit, I forgot about that," and he'll be in right stuck again. Chris says Greenwood can cover strike. Mate, I've got to say, I've got to go against the both of you. I don't see Grealish in that midfield three, mate. I see him in that front three. I think if you have Grealish out on that left-hand side, Martial through the middle, Rashford on the right, it may not. It makes sense though, right? We might not like it. We might like it. But in Ed Woodward's mind, right, that makes sense. Right?
We're
Seriously,
getting
that makes sense.
Sancho. We're getting Sancho.
Wait, do you know what? I hope for you two's sake we do, because it'll be
I
two
am, because
costers.
you know what? This is why, right? Because I admit, right, I had no fact. I'm suffering from depression. I take citalopram for it. We have to sign Sancho. I'm depressed enough as it is. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with seeing fucking Lingard playing on the right wing or Dan James.
Right, Akil, welcome.
Been doing enough for 2020.
Akil says, why can't we sign Partey instead of Grealish? We need a CDM, not another attacking midfielder, especially after Van der Beek. Partey, release clause, 45 million, isn't it?
50 million, yeah. That's chump change. I don't know why we haven't already done it.
Last time I heard, from my source, which was Sky Sports app, right? Arsenal was sniffing around, but can't afford him. So seemingly he's up for grabs, mate. And again, I mean, Akil's spot on here, Partey.
100%.
Another one.
I put it on I tweeted it from the Real United Talk Twitter account today, saying, let's get up of a corner, get Sanchez, and then if there's some change left out, they're going to get I forgot his bloody name now. All right, Partey.
Partey, yeah.
Even Hart said, chuck De Gea out in Spain and we'll take Messi. It can be done.
I agree with that. I don't know if you saw that interview that Sky Sports did with that fan who said that Messi was past it and we didn't want him. I agree with him.
I agree with him.
I think, mate, I think he's had his day now, that guy.
The guy has too much power. If you think you can just all of a sudden say to Barcelona, because you've been the best player in the world, all of a sudden, all right, I'm going unless the president resigns. The guy's got fucking way too much big balls. Abidal, one of his ex-teammates, he's got him to walk from his job, and now he wants the president to walk. Otherwise, he'll go. Can you imagine if that had have happened under Fergie? If Beckham or something like that said, I'm going otherwise such and such body steps down. It's a bit like, bye.
Chris says here, Sky Sports is probably the worst source. Chris, what you're finding, what you don't think of here, right, is where do you think everyone, right, on the internet gets their information from? The newspapers, right? Journalists. These newspapers and journalists that are allowed into these clubs all have some backstory to Sky Sports. Hence why Sky Sports get a lot of their stuff here. So I know you're only messing around, mate, but I just thought I'd just say that, because for everyone else, right, it's not because they got sources at the clubs or shit like that. It's because they're reading it off the fucking newspaper. Right. So, Diedrich, you had an interesting time on Twitter this afternoon. Do you want to have your say about it and what it was about? And
basically, Flex from the United stand, he appeared on Sky Sports.
Thankfully, I didn't see it.
Segue that one there, Marcus. Thank you. Basically, and some fans were saying, "Why is this person on? He doesn't speak for the fans." Yada yada yada. And obviously, some people are entitled to that opinion. I've got nothing against Flex. I've always said that there's a few people on that show I really don't like, and there's a few of them I do like. Like Flex is okay, Adam's cool, I think, and the rest of them, meh. But anyway, so basically, Saeed then decided to tweet out saying the only reason why nobody wants to hear from Flex is because he's black. That's funny. Okay. Like I said, I could have sworn some of our best players are black. When they represent our club, but we don't have a problem with that, do we? We don't have a problem with Rashford representing our club. We don't have a problem with Pogba representing our club, or Martial, or Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He's just a fucking he's just an idiot, an absolute idiot. And now, because I challenged him and said, you're lying, this isn't the reason why, and I pointed out that some of our best players are black, and nobody has a problem with them, he's decided to block me.
Oh, right. Okay, right. So he's all right dishing it out. But when you come back at him with facts, then, you're blocked instantly. But it's all about opinion and debate, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Real fan opinion.
This is what I thought. This is what I say. It's all opinion, Kylie, isn't it? It's all debate. Let's all be friends, right? But what a lot of crap. Absolute pathetic, childish, in a way. You can't voice your opinion, or you can't say what you're thinking, and without a reason. Apparently, I put something out the other day, and someone turned around and said to me, "What? Why are you always talking hate or something like that?" And I was like, "Mate, you don't understand my sense of humour, because I don't take social media seriously anyway, and I don't pretend to be something I'm not. So if you don't like my personality, don't fucking follow me, man. Don't read it. It doesn't bother me in the
Yeah,
slightest."
that same person that said that to you tweeted me today saying, "Oh, why are you crying? Because Saeed blocked me." I'm like, how am I the one that's crying? He's the one that's blocked me. I have won. If they ask me my opinion, I've won that argument.
It's ridiculous. I mean, to me, I've got to say, they don't represent the club that I love and the club that I've grown up with. I think I roll with the times. It's a worldwide club. I don't think much of their opinions, because I think it's very biased. I think it's very racial. And I think they go into uncharted waters and pretend to be the victims, and they twist words, and they play on words, and to suit their own agendas, shall we say. So that's my stance on it, I'm afraid. I mean, Carly, I know you're not allowed to say much. Did you want to chime in? Do you not want to chime in?
I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, all right, mate. Fair enough. Chris says, where was it here?
What I would say,
fine,
though,
mate. Yeah.
What I would say, though, is that it does need to be. It's obviously it's a matter of opinion. I think it's very. Yeah, that's what I would say. It's obviously a matter of opinion. We should be allowed freedom of speech. So.
Well, you should be, Charlie. I totally agree with that, right? But I'm going to say something here that might upset a few people, right? It's freedom of speech, so long as you agree with it, right? If you agree with it, you're fine. You're in the club. If you don't agree with it, you're out and you get shafted, right? And I'm not just talking about past experiences from me, mate. I'm talking about past experience of others as well. That certain people might think that I don't speak to privately, but I do. And like I said, I don't pretend or profess to be anything other than me. Akil says, will it be a risk worth taking if we put 55, 60 million bid for Upamecano? I think Leipzig will take it, considering a release clause that kicks in next summer is too cheap for a player of his quality. Deidre, that goes back to what you said about the release clause going up and down. Yeah, so you just want to repeat that if you remember.
What about Upamecano?
Yeah, just
yeah. So basically, the way it's worked is he's obviously signed a new contract back in the end of July. But basically, what it means is, because he signed a new contract, one of the deals was I'll sign a new contract, but I want my release clause to be lowered. So his release clause is now dropped to 42 million. But that doesn't trigger until the end of the season that's coming up, so next season. So what I think United are trying to do is almost get it done now. But I don't know. I think, like I said, he signed that contract because at the time of him signing that contract, there was a lot of talk with him being linked to Arsenal. So I think it's almost been a case of sign this contract, stop the talk. But if somebody does come in for you, we can let you go. Otherwise, you're going next season.
Yeah, fair enough. And on that note, we shall end there. I think we covered everything.
Mhm.
Things that were on topic and something that was off topic, shall we say? So thanks to the guests, Kylie. Cheers for coming on, mate. Very
Thank you very much for having me.
you know, your lovely smooth voice as normal. All right,
Very good
Diedrich. Diedrich, nice to get you back on. It's been a while, mate. I think it's been about 24 hours, hasn't it?
Yeah, a couple of hours. Yeah. Also, if you'd like to follow me, my links are here on Twitter, and also I have a YouTube channel, Daedric Riggs, spelled as it is there. If you could give me a like, short follow, really much appreciated.
See, now I might ban you for that because you're self-promoting. All right.
You come on my show more than I can do. What are you talking about? You're the one that's always messaging me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Go live, go to Tsushima, go live. I'll fucking put them in the chat.
Mate, put it on. Oh, mate, you can put it up there, do whatever you like. Kylie, same as you, mate. Put your Twitter up there. Don't bother me, mate. Don't bother me at all. Right. Cheers for everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Do something towards the end of the week. Any news, big news come up, we'll obviously jump on and discuss it. Yeah, thanks for everyone. Thanks to the guests, and
Thanks
speak
so
to you
much
soon.
everyone for watching.
Bye.
Bye.